Okay, well, first of all, thank you very much for coming today to this rather hastily arranged press conference. We called the conference to try to help people understand where the Moray Council is in addressing a serious shortfall in its budget. And that shortfall, which we had anticipated being able to meet before the latest round of cuts was announced, that shortfall now means that we cannot address the budget in the way we had intended, because we had a plan, and the plan was fairly straightforward. We have reserves, and we were going to take an amount, £5 million from our reserves, and we were going to take another £1.5 million around that sum in further efficiencies that we had identified during our budget discussions at the end of last year. And that would give us the breathing space that we required to consult with our communities on how we were going to address the continuing reductions in funding, because this is not a one-off. This is something we've been facing for many years. Budgets have reduced, as you know, for the past 3 or 4 years, and whilst that's happened all the time, our costs have risen. So we had that plan, and the Finance Secretary's announcement following the spending review undermined that intention, because as a result of that we have to bear a further £5 million of imposed budget restraint, and this simply cannot be achieved without swinging cuts to services that the public have told us they want to protect. We could reduce our services to a point that they become meaningless, or we could face the previously unthinkable option of increasing council tax. And we believe, the administration, that the people in Moray have simply had their fill of cuts and continuing cuts. And I, for one, have no stomach for any further reductions. So we propose to increase the council tax in Moray to a level that will allow us to continue with our recovery plan and offsets the additional £5 million that we are now required to save. In simple terms, because of the penalty that we expect this will attract from the government agrees the budget on the basis that we will freeze council tax, and if we don't, they don't give us the money that is there to in some way offset that freezing. It will mean that council tax would have to increase by 18% this year, or £204 on a Band D property in Moray, £17 a month. Over the years, this council has reduced its spending, and you have a briefing somewhere that will tell you this, but over the years of this administration, we've reduced our spending, and I'm just looking here, if you give me a second, by £11 million. Now that was the cheese paring, that was the salami slicing, that was finding what is quaintly termed the low-hanging fruit of savings. But the fruit that we need to pick now is 3/4 of the way up the tree, and it's not the easy choices. We are criticised in the past for making dirty cuts. I'd love to know what a clean cut is. We are looking at maintaining services. That's the message that's behind all of this. We've come to the point where we are no longer prepared to erode and fiddle around the edges in the services to make. You'll get to a point where they're not sustainable if you do that. We believe that what we have is a slimmed down council, and that's where we want to stay. But we don't want to see the public or hear the public anguish if we have to close services. And I think the public will acknowledge that and respect it. I think if you were, you know, it's almost enough's enough. And someone, you mentioned the other councils, how are they likely to react? I've heard that phrase mentioned in council elsewhere, enough's enough. That we can do a lot, but we need to re-empower the public, the public in Moray, to be able to have their say, and quite rightly, if they're going to be paying more in council tax, they've got a very strong say in how it's used.